meet with me in the hall, and they thank me for putting up with this, and it helps me. And also, we have the doctors, the chief of surgery, and me, and the ID person, and the cardiologist. The four of us have like this, mutual support group.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
Yes.
The fact that there are two other kids also gives you another, that is, they can do things, families can do things to other family members that healthcare providers can't. And so to the degree that they're willing to self-limit, it will be really helpful for you.
Yeah.
And that's really helpful to note that you are able to find meaning in it because of the support and because of the other family members and because of your history with them. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mom. Hey, Fred, are they doctors? They're not doctors.
No,
That's
not
what
at
I
all.
thought. Yeah.
Not at all.
They're the
And that's
normal
why
ones.
she's able to get away. Yeah, makes all sense. No, and I know him well too. I mean, he is great. He's a really good guy. Okay, thanks.
So, hello again, everyone. It is now just a few days left until Geriatrics Week. I think I must have burned out the whole division, although I've been keeping it on the down low. If you guys are like, oh yeah, it's already here, then that's good because I'm not beating you over the head about it until now. So for the next 10 days, I'll be beating you over the head about Geriatrics Week. Thanks for being here, and thanks everybody for everything that people have already contributed to the week. Believe it or not, we have a few different and I hope new improvements for the course, and I'd like to share those things with you. So go ahead and get started. So again, 10 days left. In case you don't know, it is October 22nd to 26th, which is in 10 days. The course this year will be taking place in SCAPE, also in the nursing school, and also in and around Pittsburgh. So we cast a pretty wide net. I think we have some people online. We are recording this session for folks who need to hear about what's going to go on in the course and how what their roles are, and a little bit of an explanation, kind of some faculty development. And who can't be here in the moment to bear witness to the faculty development talk. As usual, I start out with a little bit of trivia. So I don't know if anyone brushed up or on last year's slides, in case you still have them. But first trivia question, and there is coffee card prizes for the winner. The geriatrics course, trivia number 1. This is the what year of the course? How many people say A? How many people say B? Okay, you said A first, correct? All right, you win. This is the 12th year of the course. All right, moving on. There's 4 more trivia questions, 4 more cards to give out. So the course began in 2007. I don't even know if I remember the history of it, Neil, and how the medical school came to the division to say, hey, we need to teach some geriatrics to these students. So this course actually represents the only serious dive into geriatrics for all 4 years of medical school. It takes place in the 3rd year, the clerkship year, and it takes place, it's kind of a challenge for us in a way, that it takes place between clerkship rotations. So they have, on Friday before, they will have just finished and taken their exam for whatever clerkship they're in, and all the 4th years that following week have it off. And so all the 3rd years they get to hang out with us, like, wait a minute, you guys are crashing our vacation week. So we are a little bit stuck between this misperception that they're getting robbed of a vacation week and slammed with geriatrics week instead. So we have to kind of battle back from that, and sometimes that's a little hard because we meet their disappointment head on Monday. And so my big challenge is how can I and for all of us is how can we overcome the abject disappointment that they're not on a vacation in Hawaii somewhere. And actually, one student is going to be in Hawaii and would like to know how can I deliver the course to her. A nice, neat little tidy package, including the exam, so that she can go to Hawaii during that week. And try to be really super positive, try to make the course really fun and relevant. There's a ton of energy that goes into preparing for it, and hopefully a ton of energy that goes into delivering what I think is a pretty high quality educational product. My challenge is always to make to help this be as experiential as possible, a learning experience. These guys are coming off of clerkships where they're seeing patients every day. They're being a doctor, and they come to this, they come back to the classroom. And when I have 200 plus students, I can't create a clinical experience for every single person. But I think that over the last couple of years, we've developed a pretty fun and relevant alternative. And we get to introduce them to older people who are, in vivo in their native environments. And that's something that they don't get to see.
It's also historic, and it's also our fault. So we built, before this happened, for 8 years, we built a culture at Pitt that involved all these other schools and the AAMC and the big institution in Congress, the Association of Academic Health Centers, decided that we were the best place in America for interprofessional education. And the way it started was the Josiah Macy Foundation got a new president who I knew previous life, and he called me up and he said, would you be willing to take on, we just realized all care is not acute. We need to get teams. And it just came to our attention, you guys have been doing it for a long time in terms of preaching. Would you be willing to take this on and do it? We will give you a grant to do it. Then he called Art. Art said,
Geriatrics, you're on.
So that's how we got it. So it's our fault, but it's also historic. It was the first one in America. And it came from the Association of Academic Health Centers across the country and the Macy Foundation, the biggest educational foundation in the country. So it's you can say it with pride.
So on that note, this is, so now the medical school kind of needs us, especially this year more than ever. And you guys all are going to have a role in that. So it's been interprofessional technically since the grant was received in 2009. And then the first year of implementation was 2010.
Well, the grant actually started early. It was 7 that we got the grant. But we had to plan it and do it.
Okay. So this is the one place in all of medical school that they get pretty intensive interprofessional training. All the first years come in for an afternoon and have this big interprofessional education fair with all the other health sciences students, first year health sciences students. Actually, it's the Friday of the course. And then that's all the interprofessional education that they get until they get to this course. The LCME is visiting the campus this year, the medical school. And so we're up for accreditation, well, actually in 2019. And one of the LCME requirements is to really demonstrate how you teach interprofessional education. And I've already been told that this is going to be, my role in the mock interviews and in the real interviews about, what exactly is it that we do. The medical school fully recognizes that this is where we're delivering on those LCME accreditation criteria. And so we're a little bit on the hook to prove that we are actually achieving interprofessional education. For me, the best way to do that is to have these students functioning in teams, actually doing work in teams. And I can't deliver a real patient work, but what we can do is we can have them function in patient scenarios, working as a team to help patients get better. You guys already know about our branding, and our branding is all over the place for the entire week. So we are Geriatrics. Our brand is that we're about the medicine and science of aging. Geriatrics is one of the most cognitively and internally rewarding areas of healthcare. And I know that when we get there, our passion is all over the place. And I think that it's fantastic about how our division just shows up and shows off its pride. And it's not just us, because it's, we are bringing along everybody else who's actually, happy to come and play in our neck of the woods. And by everybody else, I mean people interested in geriatrics from every other health sciences profession represented here at the University of Pittsburgh. Older people present with disease and respond to interventions differently, and this is the only place where the students can really take a deep dive and learn that. Unless they get interested enough to come back for an elective, and some people do get interested enough to come back for an elective in their 4th year and spend another month with us clinically. So learning objectives are to introduce students to the concept and assessment of geriatric conditions, and then to teach comprehensive interprofessional approach to the complex older adult. So we're talking about interprofessionalism. Where do you guys get training for interprofessionalism? And you guys do it every day, but there are still some nuts and bolts, some principles about how we do this correctly, interacting with our colleagues from other disciplines. And if you want to know more about the nuts and bolts, some of the principles that we're teaching, at least in the course, in the background, and that they're responsible for knowing on the exam and in everyday life, take a look at the syllabus. And if you need more resources, please ask me or Rachel. Rachel's entire master's degree, her entire master's research is on developing interprofessional curricula, interactive interprofessional curricula. So we have a strong emphasis on that curriculum in the background. If you need to know more, let us know, and we'll help get you ready to go and be able to teach whatever it is you want to teach. So back in 2010, here we were at the intersession when it was called the intersession between the two clerkships. And this was a great product back in 2010, and we've really taken it to another level. So, looking out into the future, I think I had high hopes, and this is a big mountain to climb. And I thought that last year we delivered a really spot on, pretty awesome product. And this year, I think you'll see that it's going to be even better. So we aren't quite at the peak, but we're getting there. In case you're interested in the evolution of the course, there's not enough room to put 2018 on there with all the changes, so I'm going to cover them in the next couple of slides. So next question, this is what I mean bigger and better. You thought last year that when we had last year's addition to the course, I can't say too much specific because it'll give away all the answers to the next trivia questions. But last year was kind of evolutionary, and who else we had gotten involved? Would you say? I mean, because it went from it was medicine, pharmacy, and the nurse practitioner program. That's how it started, and we're up a few programs. So, what 2 health professions programs are joining the course this year, and then how many health professions programs will be represented this year?
Midwives are like a new thing, right?
That I would say that
that's exactly what we said.
right. So that but they're embedded in another profession that's been represented all along. So nurse practitioner program is definitely going to be there. And they're not new players. They're old pros with this course. Social work is one. Nope, speech has been there. Dietary. Yep. All right. So who got the 2? Okay. All right, Dave. I'm gonna push. So you got it. And
now you need to get the second part.
You get the coffee card.
I don't drink coffee. Somebody can have that.
All right. Somebody else can. Whoever came in after.
8.
Yeah.
So 8. Anybody else? Any other guesses?
I get it.
Any other guesses? The answer is 9 this year, and would have been 10, except that physical therapy, while the faculty will be here for physical therapy, we were not able to recruit any of the physical therapy students. So it would have been 10 different health sciences programs involved this year. Here's what the week looks like.
You got yogurt and a coffee card.
You guys haven't gotten it yet. We're going to send it out electronically. The facilitator package, it will have the calendar for the week. I don't expect you to be able to read it, but hey, guess what? We're really busy that week. Couple of things that I will show to you that are of interest or maybe of interest. Introduction to the course. We're going to have. I'm going to focus a little bit on the interprofessional stuff right at the get-go. For those who are there Monday morning, helping us to shepherd 200 plus students through. They are going to sit in their teams from the get-go. They're going to be involved in an interprofessional team building activity called the paper chain. If you want to see what that's all about, we did a little demo, I think, last year, and we're going to not do the demo this year, except in the committee. The planning committee is going to practice it because we have to orchestrate it. We have to be able to do it, bring it live in the course. If you want to see the paper chain, we'll be doing it in the practice run on Thursday morning at 10. So we get all these teams to do a team-based activity. Then Neil gives his award-winning, probably one of the highlights of the course. This is something the students remember and evaluate very highly. Even though, by Friday they could have been completely forgotten, they really, because they do so much stuff, they don't forget. They do not forget Neil's energy and passion, and this. This is one of your best talks, Neil. So what you guys will be doing is Neil will give sort of an intro to geriatric syndromes. Then we come in and facilitate. The students are broken up into 16 groups. Like to have a provider and a side, like a co-provider, like pilot, co-pilot kind of arrangement with the geriatric syndromes. And so you guys may find yourselves working with Paula Leslie, speech and language pathology. You may find yourselves working with a pharmacist. You may find yourselves, a couple of you are going to be working with someone from nutrition and dietetics. So please pay attention to who your partner person is. And if you have one, if you're lucky enough to have one, and get with that person to talk about how you guys are going to co-facilitate the session. When you're doing these sessions, these are problem-based learning sessions, the facilitator is a facilitator. They're the guide on the side, and they let the students go through sort of the process of discovery. You're there to make sure they don't get derailed and sidetracked, and you can pepper them with interesting geriatrics pearls, but you cannot give them a lecture, and you can't do the exercise for them. When you're doing the geriatric syndromes, so we'll get more into it, a little bit more into it next week, but I just wanted to let you know that we have interprofessionalized all of these activities, and so there's a strong interprofessional component in the cases. We'll go over that more specifically, what the cases are, and the interprofessional component is that I want you guys to land on and help with, especially if you have a co-pilot, help bring out the interprofessional aspect and the fact that we alone cannot do everything and provide everything that our very complex older patients need. Then after the syndromes cases, I'll come back and meet with Neil for for the tail end of the lecture, where he will drive it home and cement learning and retention, apparently, because they still remember it on Friday, Neil. And then we will start to prep them for the skills fair. The skills fair, we're going to go into Rachel's going to give you a lot of details about the skills fair. It is the most complicated session for the whole week. Even that has been dramatically updated this year. We are preparing all the students for the 9 health fairs that we have orchestrated around the city. And here's a trivia question that I should put on there, and so I'll just throw it out there. I may or may not be, if you get the right answer, I may actually give you the rest of the coffee cards. So trivia question that's not on there. We bus the students to 3 nursing home sites, and you guys are all aware of this because you guys have done this for years and years, but there are people watching who may not know this. And we bus them to 9 different health fairs over the course of the week. That's a lot of buses, and that's a lot of students all over Pittsburgh. Trivia question, how much does the medical school set aside in the budget to bus people around for this course every year?
Nothing.
The medical school budget is nothing. Okay, we got a 0. Do I have anybody who's willing to go 1,000?
5,000.
5,000? How much?
9.
How do you know that? Yeah, they do. They actually they budget $9,000 to pay for the buses to bus the students around the city. So and actually $9,000 they budget that, but it actually costs more. And so they look for places where the buses screw up, so they can say, "Well, we're not going to pay." So 9,000 is a lot, and that to me is really an in-kind support for the course. If they're willing to do that for 1 week of medical school training, I think that says a lot. I haven't gotten very much pushback. Just could you make sure that you don't order the big buses? Can you make sure that you group the students appropriately so that we can get the cheapest possible bus? And so the cost per bus is per run is $400. So yeah, Rachel and I have to get into those kind of details. So the other things that they're going to do. So we divide these groups of students up. This is a lot of students. Again, I can't give away the answer because it is a trivia question. It's a lot of students that we're busing. We divide them up into 3 big groups and we move them in chunks through the course. So they all get the same material, but on different days. So one group goes out to the health fairs, one group goes to the nursing homes, and one group stays put for a self-directed team building, team-based activity. In the afternoons, we have geriatric pharmacology on Tuesday, and then we have hospital survivor on Wednesday. But all groups move through that. Then we have advanced care planning on Wednesday. Advanced care planning is one of the stay-at-home activities that they do each morning, except for this one group gets to do it in the afternoon. And then they have the Is It Worth It debates. So where there are three sets of debates, 3 sets of advanced care planning, and so on. Thursday afternoon, they get the exam review, which, Suja, I still have to get with you on that. Dave, I don't know, we might have to have you video conference in for that. From wherever you are in Harrisburg. Clearly, we're more important than the state of Pennsylvania, but I have yet to convince you of that. Friday morning, we do the one little piece of education. It's not the one piece of education. They get exposure to people with dementia, which sets them up for the communication skills and dementia care. And then they get an exam, and then they do something else for Friday afternoon. Talked about the interprofessional experience. Again, if you guys have questions in your facilitator packets when we send them out, it will let you know. It will prime you for the interprofessional education component so that you know that. All right, so geriatrics course trivia question number 3. How many interprofessional students will there be in this year's course? People on the committee may not answer.
73.
83.
Which one is it?
83.
83, Stasha, you win. So last year, how many students were there? So I think last year we had 63 last year, somewhere like 63, 73, somewhere in there. So each year we get more. We add more programs and we get more students. Here's the breakdown. Medical students, 135. Pharmacy, 20. Nurse practitioner students. And yes, Pratik did mention the nurse practitioner students, the midwifery program asked to join this year. And I can only surmise that is because in very rural areas where there is a dearth of practitioners, the midwife may do it all for women, for female patients and at all stages of life. So the midwifery program will be with us, the acute care program will be with us, and the family practice nurse practitioner program will be with us. Speech and language pathology, we've had a bit of a drop off there, hoping to build that back up next year. Physical therapy, more interested in sports medicine and not in older people. Dentistry, the dental school is sending 4 dental students. And so why would people from all these other schools want to join the party here?
They all take care of elderly patients.
They do. What might be another reason? So all of the other schools, so every school has in its licensing and accreditation, they all have requirements to fulfill regarding interprofessional education. And the way some of the other schools do it is they say, we have all these interprofessional education opportunities. You need to get so many credits in interprofessional education. And this course actually counts for them. And then I also, at the end of the course, because they're volunteering pretty much to take this course, they're taking time out. Like the physical therapy, occupational therapy students, they have clinicals on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they come to the course instead. So does social work, so does nutrition. Everybody has clinicals on Thursdays. And so it's a lot for them to get pulled out of clinic or to miss classes to come to this because their classes are still going on. So it's a big deal. I give them a certificate for completing geriatrics interprofessional education at the end of the course. Physician assistant program is sending 4 people, occupational therapy 8, nutrition dietetics are 2 new programs, and they're really interested in participating in the course, and so I can't be more appreciative to have them there. So I have them joining us. So this year, the total number of students is 218, and that's about 10-12 more than last year. Again, this is how the groups are structured. So again, they're divided up into 3 groups, A and B. In the past, C was the only interprofessional group, but that is no longer the case. And here's what's really, really cool about where this program is going. Last year, we got a lot of flack about a lot of different things because students are pretty nitpicky and want you to make a better product the next year about how things are going. I'll tell you the place where we really scored high in the course last year had to do with interprofessional experience. And the students, I read a lot of comments where the students loved working with students from the other schools, and the students who were on medical student only teams, because there are some, felt like they were shortchanged. And I love that they feel that way. Do I have enough interprofessional students to put in every single group? I do. Am I going to do that? I will not dilute the interprofessional experience. So every single team that we build that's interprofessional has a minimum of 4 students from other health professions. And we have carefully gone through to try to build the teams to be as diverse as possible so that you're not going to get stacked up with 3 nurse practitioner students and then a whole bunch of medical students. And who knows the difference? Because they're all providers. They're all coming through with a very similar background in medical care. All the teams have been really carefully built. So every team that's interprofessional has a minimum of 4 interprofessional or health profession students from other professions and then 4 to 5 medical students on them. We have 6 interprofessional teams in groups A and B, and we have 9 interprofessional teams in group C. Group C is big because some of the students rotate off of the course after Thursday, so I try to I smash them in there to get the experience that they want. There's some things that some of these groups want to do and not others. So we have 10 teams because we have so many students in Group C this year. So we're built up 2 extra teams. So when they're going to come through the course in a bolus, but worry not, long-term care people, because this group does long-term care on Thursday, and so many of those students will be rotating off of the course for Thursday. So this group drops from 78 to about 60, 62 students on Thursday. This is really so easy. I'm sure I could just hand it to anybody and they could take it over. So any takers. It's, the kind of details that you kind of have to get mired in, Dave. I see that you're hiding in the corner over there. So happy to not be involved in all of this. So changes for 2008, we have, not to confuse it too much with hospital survivor, but we do have hospital horror. Does anybody remember anything about hospital horror last year? Good, because it really wasn't our course last year, but it was added on and it was evaluated. We received the evaluations for hospital horror all integrated with all the rest of the evaluations, and it didn't go over very, very, very well last year. So this was something that the medical school took on because they really needed to make sure that that we had an interprofessional product, and so they created another interprofessional activity, added it onto the course. It went from 5:30 to 8:30 at night, 2 nights of the week. Everybody had to go. The nursing school was involved, and it was all cobbled together in the last 3 days of the course. So it was a little bit hasty. And when it actually got to kickoff time, show time, students had to wait around from, our course ends at 4:30 on Tuesday, on Monday, and students had to wait around until sometimes 8 o'clock to get their assigned slot to go through a hospital simulation room. We recreated it. It became ours this year in August, and so I'm trying to reestablish a partnership with the nursing school to do it. I'm going to talk more about hospital horror in detail next week, but it is a simulation using a hospital room, a simulation or faux hospital room in the nursing school. And we do have students in small chunks moving through the simulation room in 15-minute intervals, And yes, we do have some nursing students who are going to come back this year and volunteer to be. So they're going to be rounding in a simulated hospital room, and again, I'll go into more details about the case. The one thing I want to say before I hand the baton over to Rachel to talk about the skills fairs and health fairs is, in the past we have taught people how to use the CAM, the delirium skills card, but at the health fairs we're really not testing for delirium. In the hospital horror simulation, they will be required to use their delirium skills card. So when those of you who are teaching that station, just know that there's going to be a place for them to apply the delirium skills card. We have, Rachel, why don't you kind of come up and get people going about the skills fair. So the part, the biggest, most complicated part of the course is the skills fair and the health fairs. And Rachel has sort of taken over that activity for this year and last year.
Thank you, and good morning. So I think the important part to point out here is actually that one of the fun parts of bringing in additional health professions into the whole experience of the course is that we get to expand the skill set to be able to include everyone. And so we now have social work who's helping us with the social isolation screening, and the entire group pretty much unanimously said that we feel like this is an important thing to add. Anxiety is new, deprescribing is re-emerging.
Can you just say for a second, like, how is it that we change? Why did we change skill stations based on what input and feedback?
Yeah, so this is you're talking about the nursing homes.
No,
the sites, or?
No, I'm talking about you send out a survey, and we also look at the evaluations every year to find which skill stations are super popular and which ones are not as popular. And popularity isn't the only thing driving it. We need to make sure that they get the educational content that's important. But for the last 2 years, Rachel has taken a survey back to the planning committee, which is now very large. The planning committee kind of votes on which assessments they think are super important. And since we have gotten other disciplines involved, we've really broadened, our reach and our what we think is important. And we are asking those folks from other schools to participate. They are our team members in everyday life, and everybody brings some area of expertise, and that's what they're doing in the skills fair.
Yeah, so just to underscore that, I'm presenting this. This is definitely the work of an entire committee of those 9 health professions, and actually 10, because physical therapy is one of the faculty as well. So just to kind of take a 50,000 foot view of this, the skills fair health fair, it's a 2-part activity. So skills fair Monday afternoon, you learn how to perform these different geriatric assessment skills. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday mornings, you go out to these 9 health fair sites and you practice those skills working with older adults in the community. So it's kind of like the health fair or the skills fair on Monday afternoon is kind of a speed dating idea. Every single student will go to 12 skill stations in 3 hours from 1 to 4 p.m., which means that they're rotating stations every 15 minutes.
They get 2 breaks, actually. If they go to 10 stations, there's 12 slots, but they go to 10 stations, and there's 2 breaks built in for them. And there's breaks built in for us too, I hope.
Right, so, and then they also have the opportunity to attend 2 additional ones at the end of the afternoon. So, and then also, since we are crunching up on the time, I want everybody here to know, if you're a facilitator for the skills fair or the health fair, you'll have a very detailed set of instructions and packet that should have even like Q&A style answers to your questions. Plus, I'm available to you by email to answer these.
And for every skills station, I'm kind of crashing your party, but I think these are a couple of additional points to make. So every skills station, the people who are running them need to have a lesson plan in order to be able to teach a skill and have students practice a skill within a 12 to 13 minute time slot. It's really rapid fire teaching and learning.
And many of you have already gotten that to me, right. and I know some of you will still be able to do that.
And some of you have thankfully signed up yet again to do the skills station, so you're already familiar with it. So we took care of doing the skills cards, and then Rachel is working individually with people to make sure that we have that everybody's got a lesson plan for how to create a pretty interactive, high quality session.
So there is one more coffee card, I guess, to give away. So
Two more.
there's two
This
more.
is one.
Okay. So name 3 required and 3 elective skill stations. Let's start with required.
And they've changed this year, again, based on the voting of the committee.
So the CAM must be required. Right?
Okay, I heard CAM.
Depression?
Depression.
Orthostatics.
Okay, mini-cog, orthostatics.
So can one person name 3 required and 3
There's
elective?
6 of them.
There's 6 required?
So 3 of them have been mentioned already. So pick the 3 that were.
Depression, orthostatics, and minicog.
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah. 3
Okay. So how about 3 elective? You've got 12 options for this one. And remember, there were 6 new ones.
Just any of those.
We just flashed them up on the screen.
Social isolation.
Yeah, there you go.
What'd you say?
I said deprescribing social isolation and anxiety.
Yep. Fantastic. So actually, that's that's correct. Okay. So social isolation, all those names that come with one. So you guys have this in your slide to look at, but it's a really cool.
This is what a sample skill station. So for those of you who don't know what it looks like in the medical school, we're about to give you a map of the layout, and this is just basically one skill station. Ann taught this one on skin assessment, and it's interactive. So they're doing a skin assessment with the pictures.
Okay, so I think so. Again, you guys are all going to get a packet in the interest of time. We've kind of gone over this. 12 minutes per station underscores the importance of having that lesson plan, which every facilitator has in their packet. And the 2 important things I'll point out here is you're teaching them the skill. You half of the time is spent with them actually practicing the skill in some way, on a case or on each other. And then you've got to show them how to use that skill, whatever their assessment finding is. How does that help us determine whether this person is at risk for that condition or not? And then how to use the health assessment form to convey their findings and whether that person is at risk when they go and do this at the health fair sites. I'll show you that in a second. Every student needs a stamp at your station to show that they were there, because at the very, very end of the health fair at 4 o'clock, or the skills fair at 4 o'clock, you're going to hand out that little ring of knowledge with all the Rolodex of cards.
So the schedule that the students get, the medical school, and this is something to behold again. I actually went over to see how they do this. They have a formula for assigning all of the students. Every student has a personalized schedule that they get at registration day, and it says where they're going to go at what time for the skills fair. And it has on there every student going to all of 6 of the required stations, and then the other elective stations are actually assigned. They're elective because they're not required. They are other stations that they may or may not get assigned to. So that the required stations, those are large. Those have at least 15 students at them every single time slot, and they're exhausting. And for the elective stations, those are much smaller. You have about 7 to 9 students rotating at each station and each time slot. The elective stations, I believe the preceptors get 2 15-minute breaks, 2 breaks that they, and I don't know when they're going to happen. But yes, there is an algorithm built into Excel to assign them with this sheet, and this schedule that they're going to be bringing with them, and that you're going to have a bingo dauber, and you're going to daub, at the end of your little session, at the end of your teaching, you just get all of your, all the schedules and daub each one for that time slot that they showed up. And they have to have a full completed schedule with a lot of daubs of paint on them by the end of the afternoon. And everybody's going to have a box of skills cards to hand out at their stations at 4 o'clock. Okay.
Please come to the 12:15 orientation for all of this stuff. So you're not missing anything here.
Oh, we have lunch.
You're going to be there's an orientation.
Lunch for the preceptors from 12:15 to 12:45, and then you go to your stations. So we'll have a kickoff.
Okay, so one very important thing, this might be the last thing that we cover this morning, is SMART goals. So this is a new skill that is a required skill station for everyone to learn. And we, as a committee, pretty much said this is important for the care that every single one of our health professions provides. We need to help our patients set goals so that we can help them achieve those goals. That is the whole purpose of the interprofessional team. And so if you don't know what SMART goals are, here's a good time to learn. SMART stands for a specific, measurable, assignable, realistic, and time-related goal. And this is what the SMART card looks like for the student. On the other side is a set of questions that helps the students help the participant develop the goals. So the important thing for you all to know, very, very basic, this is not my area of expertise. I have been granted the incredible privilege of sharing this on behalf of Pam Toto of Occupational Therapy and Paula Leslie of Speech and Language Pathology. The important things for us to know is that these are patient-centered goals, not provider-centered goals. This is not, we need you to take your blood pressure pill every single day. How are we going to do that? These are very patient-centered. And goals are always a matter of perspective. So consider a provider might have the goals of controlling edema, maintaining safety overall. Patient's goals, same patient, might be to remain at home and to be able to remain independent with IEDLs and be able to cook. There are some overlaps. So to help reach both of these goals, provider and patient both want to be able to prevent falls. Okay, so just keep in mind the perspective. And there are 3 questions to help you with that. Students are taught to ask the participant they're working with 3 questions. The first is, what's the problem? Doc, the knee pain is really, really bad. It's been bad for the last week. How does it impact their life? Well, I can't leave the house because of this pain. And what would help them to be able to do that thing? And so that third question is what's going to help you develop the SMART goal to be able to achieve that task. Oops, yeah, there we go. So I need you guys to help me to come up with a SMART goal for this patient that I just described. So this person has knee pain, is unable to leave the house right now, and wants to be able to do that. Okay. So an example might be, let's see, specific. So I'm going to do range of motion exercises 3 days per week. This is reasonable, right? I'm not going to go out and walk for an hour every day. And then it's time related. And I'm going to do this by next week, and I'm going to call you with the results or call you with how it's going. So that's an example.
And the SMART goals, you guys don't have to necessarily know how to, well, I mean, it would be helpful for you to know how to do this because at the health fairs, they're going to have to come up with a SMART goal with every participant. And so you as the health fair preceptors may be coaching them a little bit. And if you want more help with coaching and more resources, Rachel can help you with how to help them. But you need to know that when you're when you are presenting the health fairs to them, that they know that they have to put a SMART goal on every health fair assessment form.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think, I mean, you guys will have individual communication if you're a facilitator for these things. Here's where that SMART goal is going to go on the health assessment form. That's required for every participant who goes to the health fair. The other thing that's required is I don't know what I've done here.
The timer is going, I don't know why.
The other one is the orthostatic blood pressure, which has always been required. So I think you guys don't need to hear anything else from me.
Except that with the health assessment forms, when you're at the skills fair, there's going to be a copy of a health assessment form, and we're going to have highlighted which one is related, which assessment is related to your skills station, so that you can teach them how to fill out the health form.
And again, please come at 12:15 to be able to go through all this.
And for preceptors at the health fairs, when the students are doing the health assessment forms, they're going to complete 2. So there's going to be one that they give to the participant at the end of their session with the participant. Each participant is going to do 3 to 5 assessments depending on how many participants and how many students we have there. And so the students give them a copy, but we keep a copy because we're collecting the data on which health assessments are being done. So,
thank you everybody for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for everybody who joined us. And part
Lena's all fired up. I'm gonna sit back and
Like the first day was okay. The second day, when we done with the Enneagrams, I was just like,